The tradition started when I was 16, 2 days before Thanksgiving when Mom broke her wrist. "Sarah can handle it," she announced from her recliner, prescription painkillers making her drowsy. "She's been helping me cook for years." Helping, yes, peeling potatoes and setting tables. That wasn't the same as preparing a feast for 23 relatives with zero notice and no guidance. But somehow I managed. I stayed up until 3 a.m. the night before, cried over burnt rolls, and served a meal that was edible if not elegant. "Sarah did such a wonderful job," everyone praised. "You're so lucky to have such a capable daughter." Mom beamed as if she had personally trained me. Dad nodded approvingly. "Next year we'll let Sarah handle everything. She's clearly got a gift for this." I was exhausted, stressed, and had missed the entire holiday while frantically cooking and serving, but the praise felt good. Being useful felt good. Being needed felt like love. That was 18 years ago. Since then I've been the designated chef for our massive family gathering every Thanksgiving. What started as an emergency favor became a permanent expectation. The guest list grew from 23 to over 30 as cousins married and had children. My role never changed. Single-handedly prepare a restaurant-quality feast while everyone else enjoyed the holiday. Sarah's Thanksgiving became the family brand. Relatives raved about Sarah's famous stuffing and Sarah's perfect gravy. They requested special dishes and dietary accommodations. They brought friends who had heard about the incredible meal. The pressure to maintain my reputation grew each year. Nobody ever offered to help. Oh, they'd make token gestures. "Let me know if you need anything." But when I actually asked, they vanished. They'd wander into the kitchen to sample food and offer unhelpful commentary, then scatter when I suggested they chop vegetables or stir a pot. "We don't want to get in your way," became the standard excuse. "You're so good at this, we just mess it up." The logistics alone were brutal. Shopping for 30 people meant multiple grocery trips with carefully calculated lists. Prep work started days in advance. Desserts baked, sides prepped, oven schedules mapped like military operations. Thanksgiving Day itself was a 12-hour marathon. While everyone else watched football, played with the kids, or relaxed with wine, I was trapped in the kitchen. I missed conversations, laughter, and family moments. I ate my meal standing at the counter while washing dishes long after everyone else had finished. And then came the suggestions. "The turkey was a little dry last year. Could you make the stuffing less salty this time? Aunt Marie's rolls were better, but yours are fine." They treated me like hired catering staff, not a family member sacrificing her entire holiday for their comfort. By my mid-20s, the physical demands were crushing. Cooking for 30 people requires professional-level stamina. I'd collapse into bed every Thanksgiving night, exhausted and resentful, while everyone else reminisced about another perfect holiday. Friends invited me to their own celebrations, but I always declined. "I can't. I'm cooking for my family." They looked puzzled. "Can't someone else cook? Or everyone bring something?" I'd never even considered that. My family had made it clear. Thanksgiving was my responsibility. Suggesting changes was met with horror. "But it won't be the same. You're so much better at it than anyone else. It's tradition." Their tradition was effortless luxury. Mine was overwork disguised as devotion. College gave me a brief reprieve, a valid excuse to miss a few Thanksgivings, but even then relatives called for recipes and complained that Thanksgiving just isn't the same without Sarah's cooking. The guilt trips were relentless. I was made to feel like I'd abandoned the family by pursuing my education. After graduation there was no escape. I was back on full-time kitchen duty, with higher expectations now. "You learned so much in college. This will be even easier for you now." My career didn't matter. My relationships didn't matter. My desire to enjoy the holiday didn't matter. What mattered was maintaining their perfect Thanksgiving experience. The breaking point built slowly. Each year the demands increased as the gratitude decreased. I became the family's unpaid chef, therapist, and punching bag. 3 years ago my cousin brought her new boyfriend, a picky eater, and handed me a list of his dislikes and allergies. "Can you make sure there's something he can eat?" she asked. When I suggested he bring his own food, she was appalled. "Sarah, don't be difficult. It's Thanksgiving." 2 years ago my brother's wife went gluten-free and expected separate versions of every dish. When I explained that would double my workload, she accused me of being unsupportive of her health journey. Last year was the final straw. Dad handed me a list of 32 people 3 days before Thanksgiving. 8 more than I planned for, he said casually. Some folks are bringing friends. I told them you wouldn't mind. I stared at the list, calculating the extra groceries, prep time and stress. I do mind, I said quietly. Dad blinked. What? I mind. I can't cook for 32 people with 3 days' notice. He looked genuinely confused. Sarah, you've always handled whatever we've thrown at you. What's different now? What was different was that I was 34 and I had spent 18 Thanksgivings working while everyone else celebrated. I had never had a relaxing holiday with my own family. I was exhausted from being taken for granted. I need help, I said. Real help, not people standing around offering to do anything while contributing nothing. He sighed. Well, you know how it is. Everyone has their own ways of doing things. It's easier if you just handle it. Easier for whom? Certainly not me. That Thanksgiving was a disaster. I was overwhelmed and resentful. The food was fine, but I snapped at people all day. I cried in the pantry while the turkey rested. I served dinner with red eyes and a fake smile, then locked myself in my room afterward. Multiple relatives commented on my attitude problem. The solution, according to them, wasn't to reduce my workload. It was for me to handle stress better. In January, I started therapy. I needed help understanding why I felt so angry and trapped by something I'd supposedly chosen. My therapist asked questions I couldn't easily answer. Do you enjoy cooking for your family? I used to, I admitted. When it was help, not labor. What would happen if you said no? They'd be disappointed. Angry. They'd guilt me. Thanksgiving would be ruined and it would be my fault. And if it was ruined? They'd have to figure it out. Would life go on? Yes. What do you want Thanksgiving to look like? I wanted to enjoy it. To spend time with family instead of serving them. To feel like a guest in my own life just once. My therapist helped me see that I wasn't honoring tradition. I was enabling entitlement. My family had mistaken my generosity for obligation. We practiced setting boundaries and resisting guilt. I learned the difference between helping family and being used by them. By October, I made a decision. This would be my last Thanksgiving as the sole chef. I'd cook one final meal, then announce my retirement from kitchen duty, and suggest potlucks or catering for future years. But as the holiday approached, the familiar pressure returned. Dad sent the guest list, 30 people again, assuming I'd handle it. Mom added her special requests. Relatives called with their usual demands. The expectation was so absolute, so ingrained, that I felt myself slipping back into old habits. Planning menus, making shopping lists, telling myself I could endure one more year. The momentum of 18 Thanksgivings is hard to break. 3 days before Thanksgiving, I had an epiphany while standing in the grocery store. I was buying ingredients for a meal I didn't want to cook, for people who wouldn't appreciate the work involved. During a holiday I should have been enjoying instead of enduring. I abandoned my cart and went home. That evening I called my best friend from college. Are you doing anything for Thanksgiving? I asked. Flying to Portland to visit my sister, she said. Why? Can I come with you? She was surprised but delighted. Of course. But, what about your family's big dinner? Aren't you cooking for like 50 people? 30, I corrected. And no, I'm not cooking for anyone this year. Booking a last-minute flight was expensive, but it felt like buying my freedom. I packed quickly, left my kitchen empty, and prepared for the confrontation that would inevitably come. Oh. On Wednesday evening, Dad called with his usual list of final details. Cooking starts at 4 a.m., right? Oh, and Uncle Bob's bringing his new girlfriend. She's vegetarian, so make sure there are plenty of options for her. Also, Cousin Jennifer's kids are in their picky eater phase, so maybe make some plain pasta as backup. Actually, Dad, I said, I won't be cooking tomorrow. A long pause. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not cooking Thanksgiving dinner. I'm going out of town. Sarah, this isn't funny. 30 people are expecting dinner. Then 30 people need to figure out alternative arrangements. You can't just abandon the family. It's Thanksgiving. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm taking a break from being the unpaid caterer. The conversation escalated quickly. Dad cycled through anger, panic, and guilt trips. How could you be so selfish? Don't you care about family? What are we supposed to do now? I stayed calm just like my therapist had taught me. You could order catering. You could make it a potluck. You could go to a restaurant. Families across America manage Thanksgiving without one person doing all the work. But you're so good at it. Everyone's counting on you. Everyone's counting on me to sacrifice my holiday for their convenience. That's not fair and I'm done with it. I hung up before he could respond. Almost immediately my phone began buzzing with calls and texts from relatives alerted to the crisis. I turned it off. Freedom. Thursday morning at 3 a.m. instead of starting turkey prep, I was in an Uber heading to the airport. Instead of calculating cooking times and oven schedules, I was buying coffee and settling into my window seat. Instead of sacrificing another holiday to other people's expectations, I was finally putting myself first. The guilt hit during takeoff. 18 years of conditioning doesn't disappear overnight. I imagined the chaos at home as 30 people arrived expecting a feast and found an empty kitchen. Part of me wanted to turn around and fix it. But a bigger part of me felt free, for the first time in decades. Portland was beautiful. My friend's sister hosted a small, cozy gathering, just 8 people each contributing something. I brought wine and helped with cleanup. Afterward, we played board games, took walks, and actually enjoyed each other's company instead of just consuming food someone else had prepared. It was the most relaxing Thanksgiving I'd had since I was 15. When I turned my phone back on Friday, there were 47 messages waiting. They ranged from angry to hurt to manipulative. The story I pieced together was predictably chaotic. The family had gathered Thursday expecting their usual feast. When they realized I wasn't there and no food was prepared, panic ensued. Some people left to find restaurants. Most were closed. Others raided my parents' pantry for whatever they could find. A few went to grocery stores and bought pre-made dishes. They ended up with a hodgepodge meal of store-bought turkey, instant mashed potatoes, canned vegetables and frozen pies. It was, according to multiple messages, a disaster. The worst Thanksgiving ever. Several relatives blamed me for ruining the holiday. Others said they were hurt that I'd left without warning. A few accused me of abandoning family during a time we're supposed to be together. But buried among the guilt trips were messages that gave me hope. From my cousin Mark. I never realized how much work you put into Thanksgiving. I'm sorry we took you for granted. From Aunt Linda. I understand why you needed a break. We should have helped more over the years. From my brother. Mom and Dad are furious, but honestly I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. And the most telling message came from my teenage niece. It was actually kind of fun figuring out dinner together, like a cooking adventure. But Uncle Dave burned the rolls and Grandpa complained the whole time. Over the following weeks, the family dynamic began to shift. Some relatives stayed angry and refused to speak to me. They couldn't forgive me for disrupting their comfortable arrangement. Those were the ones who had valued me only as a service provider. Without that service, they had no use for me. Others began to understand what they'd been asking of me all those years. They reached out with apologies and invitations to smaller, shared gatherings. My parents took the longest to come around. They felt embarrassed by the Thanksgiving disaster and blamed me for making them look bad. It took several honest conversations before they saw it from my perspective. We never asked you to cook for everyone, Mom protested during one particularly difficult call. You didn't have to ask, I said. You expected it and I delivered for 18 years. But you seemed to enjoy it. I enjoyed feeling useful and appreciated. I didn't enjoy sacrificing every Thanksgiving while everyone else relaxed. We didn't know you felt that way. That was the hardest truth to face. They genuinely hadn't considered my experience. In their minds, I was simply fulfilling my natural role as the family caretaker. They'd never questioned whether that role was fair or sustainable because it worked for them. A new tradition. Eventually, we found a new equilibrium. Thanksgiving became a potluck. Everyone contributed according to their abilities. Some brought appetizers, others handled sides or desserts. The host, rotating each year, provided the turkey and coordinated the meal. The dinners weren't as elaborate or picture-perfect as my solo productions, but they were infinitely more enjoyable. People appreciated the food more when they understood the work involved. Children learned to help instead of just consuming. Most importantly, I got to be a family member instead of the kitchen staff. I could sit with relatives, watch football, play with the kids, and actually enjoy the holiday I had spent nearly 2 decades working through. 3 years later, our Thanksgivings are smaller, but warmer. Some relatives stopped attending when they couldn't get their perfect free meal. But the ones who stayed genuinely wanted to be there. We focus more on connection and less on consumption. I still cook, but as one contributor among many. I make dishes I enjoy and eat them while they're still warm. I have conversations during dinner instead of serving it. I participate in my own holiday. Freedom and gratitude. The Portland trip became an annual tradition. My friend and I alternate between visiting her family and exploring new cities during Thanksgiving week. It's my reminder that holidays can be about joy and discovery, not obligation and exhaustion. My family now understands that my presence at their gatherings is a choice, not a given. That makes the time we share more meaningful because it's based on mutual enjoyment, not one-sided service. Looking back, I realize my Thanksgiving rebellion wasn't about abandoning my family. It was about saving it. The old system was unsustainable and unfair. By refusing to continue enabling it, I forced everyone to find a better way. The people who truly cared adapted and apologized. The ones who only valued my labor revealed their true priorities by walking away. Either way, I learned who my real family was. Today, I'm grateful for many things on Thanksgiving. The family members who love me as a person, not a service provider. The confidence to set boundaries even when it's hard. The freedom to enjoy holidays instead of enduring them. And most of all, the knowledge that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for your family is refuse to let them take advantage of you. It forces everyone to grow into healthier patterns and more authentic relationships. My kitchen is no longer a prison, and Thanksgiving is no longer a source of dread. That's worth more than any perfectly prepared feast.